Hi, I'm Taylor Blake. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at LearnIn. I'm excited to talk to you about how to accelerate your skill and talent development and why that's especially critical right now. So LearnIn, we're a relatively new company. We've been around for a couple of years, and we help companies address this challenge through creating internal talent academies. So we've been thinking a lot about this, we've been working a lot around this, and even before LearnIn, the LearnIn team was the team behind Degreed, a learning experience platform. So we spent a lot of time in this area. I'm excited to share with you some of the things that we've learned along the way and some of the ways that you can implement this in your organization. So first, why is this a critical topic right now? Well, to answer that, I'd ask you to consider, is it harder now than it was a few years ago to attract, retain, or develop talent? If you're anything like a lot of the companies we've been talking to, we've been hearing a lot about the Great Resignation. We've been hearing about business transformations. We've been hearing about how hard it is to attract and retain employees. And even once you bring them in, you now have this onboarding challenge. How do you get them up to speed? So if any of that resonates, it's not just you. There's a new workforce reality. I was going to try to stay in this corner and not block too much of the presentation. Looks like I'm going to need to move just for 1 second so you can read all of this. Let me go up here just for a minute. So here you can see some numbers that bring to life what we can all see with our eyes. There's more job openings than there are unemployed workers. Lots of employees are looking for a change, and we're dealing with this new reality of remote work. And really, we believe there is no going back. We are going to have to reimagine how we attract, retain, and develop our employees. So what we have to do is we have to meet employees where they're at. We have to give employees what they're looking for, which is chances for upskilling and skill development. 73% of employees are more willing to work at a company that provides upskilling opportunities. 76% feels like that gives them more job security. If employees are working on upskilling and skill development, they're 13% more engaged, more positive about their jobs. And for new employees entering the workforce, upskilling is the third most important benefit, only behind health insurance and disability and above things like vacation and paid time off. But it's not just workers that want chances for skill development. This is becoming critical for the entire business. Gartner this year reported that the top 5 priorities for HR leaders this year, the number one, 59%, was building critical skills and competencies. This is because it's not just an employee perk, it's not just a benefit, but this is also about being able to keep up as a business to have the key skills that you need to compete and win. But here's the challenge. 40% of companies can't build skill development solutions fast enough to meet evolving needs. And I suspect that number is only going to increase, and let me show you why. If you look at this chart of an employee's journey, we've mapped out where these moments of deep transformational learning need to occur. So as an employee starts, they're getting onboarded, they're getting oriented, they're getting familiar with the job, the company, they might need to pick up 1 or 2 new skills. So there's this learning curve coming into a role. Now at some point, likely you'll settle in, it'll be business as usual, but then because industries are changing so quickly, the world is changing, our business is having to adapt and change. We're seeing more cases of employees needing to take on new projects and new responsibilities, new initiatives, new technologies being implemented that employees need to get up to speed on. And in order to get up to speed, they need to develop new capabilities. They need to pick up 1 or 2 extra key skills. And again, they're met with this steep learning curve. And then you have things like preparing for a new role inside the organization. We see so many companies now focused on internal career mobility and not just hiring externally, because hiring externally is so hard. So how do you help prepare people for new roles, new career opportunities? Once you promote them, how do you get them up to speed in that new role? So these moments of deep transformational learning, it requires more than the stuff that an employee uses to get his or her job done. This is where they need something extra to really get them through that learning curve. So if you just imagine if this is what the employee journey looks like for just one employee, now imagine you have thousands of employees who all have these moments where they need to upskill, and you consider the increasing frequency of these moments because our businesses are changing so quickly, and you start to see, yeah, of course, we're not able to keep up. There's so much that needs to be done across so many employees at an ever-increasing rate across a diverse range of topics and need areas. It's a lot to do. So here's where we stand. Employees need and want these deep, intensive upskilling programs and opportunities that can be put into practice sooner. And companies need a more dynamic way of meeting the shifting skill demands inside their organizations. So what's holding us back? Well, first, the challenge is not that we don't know what to do. I firmly believe this. After speaking with and working with so many folks in corporate training, in L&D, they know what good learning experiences look like. They know how to create them. They know how to build them. That's not the challenge. The challenge is actually having the resources to do it at the scale and speed necessary. And to reinforce this point, let me show you some of this research that totally surprised me. This chart is really mind-boggling to me. This is research that was published by ATD last year. Let me explain to you what you're looking at. So in the left-hand column, it shows different types of training products. So this is instructor-led training, differentiated by in-person classroom training or virtual instructor-led training, different types of e-learning going from very passive, so just think slides that you click through, to increasing levels of engagement. Full engagement would be where there's scenarios or simulations or games or activities that the employee is participating in. And then at the bottom, micro-learning. This could be infographics or videos or small snippets of e-learning. And they ask them, for these different types of training products that you create, what's the average duration for an employee to participate in one of these training or learning solutions? And you can see they average maybe 20 to 30 minutes. They're not too long. But then they also asked, what is the average time that it takes to develop one of these training experiences? And these numbers are a little bit crazy, right? So this is hours. And first, let me say, one of the reasons why is because this isn't just the time that it takes to design or develop, but we're really talking about the whole ADDIE model, right? So analysis, design, development, implementation, evaluation. So what's the need? What should it look like? Do we get stakeholders involved? That's how we get to this number of 60, 50, up to 100 hours for a 20 or 30 minute learning experience. That's what we're dealing with right now. So if you think back to that chart of the employee journey, where employees have these different upskilling or learning moments, onboarding, a new project, preparing for a new role, of course we're not able to meet employees at all these moments, because delivering any of these training products, at least the way we're doing it right now, to deliver one of these experiences takes so much time, way too much time. And this point is reinforced when we directly ask, what are the barriers to faster learning, design, and development? The answer overwhelmingly isn't that L&D doesn't know how or have the right skills. It's limited resources, which explains so much of the L&D activity that we're seeing today. This chart comes from Josh Bersin, and I think it makes total sense based on everything that we've talked about so far. On the left-hand side, you have traditional training. This was very formal, classroom-like training, but the challenge was it wasn't digital and it was costly to scale. We don't have the time and resources to make these experiences for everyone. We can't be in a classroom with everyone at the same time. So what do? Self-directed learning. We buy a license to LinkedIn Learning or to some other e-learning library. But what we find, and this is the moment that we're in right now, this second arrow, too much content, not enough context. We're realizing that just dumping content or turning on a platform that has lots of e-learning courses or videos, there's still a gap between all of this content and really solving the problems and challenges and meeting employees in their moments of need. And I love how Josh Bersin describes it here. There's too much content, not enough context. So how do we address that? Josh Bersin describes this third pillar, which he calls capability academies. This is a lot of our inspiration when we talk about talent academies. So what is an academy? He describes it as something that's organized by functional area or strategic need. It's got more involvement from the business leaders and subject matter experts. It's more hands-on. There's chances for coaching, mentoring, projects, assignments, assessment. So you're not just being handed information, but you're using that information in context of work. You're really applying it. And like I said, there's more involvement from the business to constantly adapt this experience so that it's always applicable to employees in the work that they're doing. Well, you may think, okay, that's great, but how do we actually do that? And that's why at LearnIn, we've been working on a solution to make it really easy to bring these academies to life. LearnIn gives you the tools to build and create talent academies quickly and at scale. Let me break down some of the key pieces of the LearnIn solution. We think of talent academies as having these two broad categories. On the left, education access, and on the right, the program builder. Okay, so we have education access on the left. The idea here is that one of the best ways to accelerate skill and talent development is that it doesn't make sense for you to develop everything yourself internally. We already saw the time that it takes to design, deliver, and implement a really short learning solution. And honestly, if you're talking about upskilling your employees in data science and project management, in marketing, in leadership development, it's gonna take more than a 20-minute module, right? It's gonna take coaching and practice and feedback. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take some effort. And the good news is that you don't always have to create and deliver that yourselves. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense to look external and to sponsor employees to take really great, effective external courses and programs. So one of the examples I give is that if you have 2 employees who need to learn data science or cybersecurity, that's not going to justify you creating some sort of initiative or program internally. It's just not. So you should sponsor those employees, find the best external course, program, experts, workshops, whatever it is, sponsor them. So as I mentioned, this is great for those one-off requests. But then on the right-hand side, you have the program builder. And this is really effective for the more company-specific skills, the things that you want to be able to customize and contextualize. Or if you have a large group of people. Now, it might not be economical to build a program if you only have 1 or 2 people who need to upskill in this area. But if you have 100 people, if you have 200 people, then it starts to make more sense to do this yourself. So the program builder, it's not just content, but it's an experience where you're learning with a cohort. There's live sessions where you're discussing, where you're working through problems. There's projects and assignments, so it's hands-on. There's content that you're doing on your own time. So it's this really great learning experience, and we make that really, really easy to create and deliver. So between these two options, external on the left, internal on the right, you can really meet any of these more demanding, these deep transformational learning moments. Let me dive into both of these quickly. So for education access, sponsoring employees to take advantage of the best external courses, programs, technology certifications, even degree programs or other resources for personal development. There's a whole ecosystem of amazing external resources, and you can leverage that when and where it makes sense for your employees. We make it easy to do. You can set up personal learning stipends. You can tap into and leverage tuition assistance. This is such an underrated, underutilized way of accelerating your skill and talent development. Most companies have a tuition assistance program, and I dare say it's going to waste. It's likely paying for your employees to take expensive degree programs that have honestly a pretty low completion rate, that might not have great alignment to your needs as a business, and honestly very few people are taking advantage of it. Think how much more benefit you could get out of your existing tuition assistance program if you started to encourage employees to take programs, certificate programs, certifications that were aligned to your skill or talent needs as a business. More employees would be able to participate. It's a win-win. So you can do stipends, you can do tuition assistance, you can tap into line of business training budgets. You could also set up scholarships. So if you want to build talent pipelines, maybe of underrepresented groups, or you need to transition employees from one role into another role, you can set up targeted scholarships for certain audiences that help encourage upskilling where it makes the most sense. So this is the education access side of the solution. And the best part is that you can pick and choose which parts of these you want to employ as part of your talent academy. But like we said, we don't always want to go external, only when it makes sense. So for those other needs where we want to deliver this internally, we've got this great program builder. What I mean by that is that you can organize employees in a cohort so they're learning together maybe over a 4-week period. It's easy to create projects and assignments so that it's hands-on, so that the learning is done in context of actual work. This isn't something that employees just do on their own time, but we bring them together for live sessions. This could be facilitator-led, peer-to-peer, and we have the technology to make all this coordination really simple and to provide the nudges and integrations with your Slack or Teams so that the information is meeting employees where they are, when they need it. And it's really easy for me to just go about my workday, but also be participating maybe in this 4-week new manager training or leadership development. And this solution, it allows you to create really effective onboarding programs, leadership programs. We see a lot of rotational programs or upskilling programs. The other piece here that I want to quickly highlight is that you can then organize different tracks where you can create these roadmaps to show employees how to level up in a particular skill or a particular functional area. So maybe leadership or software engineering. You can customize different levels, the different programs or deliverables or learning experiences that you expect them to have completed each step of the way. It also allows you to meet different employees who are coming into this at different levels. So what this means is between the education access, between the program builder, you can now easily meet every key learning moment. We now have these tools and solutions at our disposal to pick the right solution for the right moment. And it scales way more easily than what we've been doing in the past. I love this quote. Let me just read this real quickly from the VP of Workforce Learning at a big financial services company. They said, "Learn-in is like flight control for skill building. For individuals or small groups of employees, we can leverage programs built by external experts. It's easy, employees pay with pre-funded virtual cards. For large group development, we can build learning tracks for key skills. So you really get the best of both worlds." Which brings this back to where we started. The Talent Academy really does bring together the tools and solutions to help you maximize and target resources when and where you need to accelerate skill and talent development. Here's yet another reason why it's so important to maximize the resources you have and deploy them where it matters. If you look at the difference here in these charts between the number of employees who are interested or not interested in upskilling based on the top row, whether or not the company is sponsoring the upskilling, right? If the company's sponsoring it, yeah, people are excited. 71% are very excited, whereas only 34% if they're expected to pay for it and do it out of their own pocket. On the bottom, if employees are doing this as part of work, at work, then 65% of them are going to be excited and want to participate. versus 46% if they have to do it on their own time. We want more of our employees. We need more of our employees participating. So we need to be smart. We need to be organized around giving employees those opportunities, because if we don't, then not nearly enough employees are going to be able to participate. We're getting close to the end. Let me address one more point, which is that we know HR, training, and L&D folks have their hands full. You're likely being inundated with requests and requirements. So where do you start? I like this diagram because it helps differentiate some of the different needs you might have, which in turn gives you clarity around where you may want to start. Look, let's look at this as sort of three main buckets. You've got training. So this is where you're focused on tasks, processes, the job at hand. You typically measure this by looking at productivity and performance metrics. There's always going to be needs and room for improvement here. We've got development, which is trying to prepare employees for new skills, new projects, new roles. You measure this by looking at internal mobility and whether or not you have the key skills that you need as a business now and in the future, right? So development. And then we have learning, which is, if you run an employee engagement survey, how many of your employees are going to say, yeah, I feel like my company's investing in me. I feel like I have chances to learn and grow and explore my curiosity. And I feel like we have a learning culture, right? There's this bucket of learning, which is, do employees feel like you're investing in them? Do they feel like they have chances to learn and grow? So as you think about, well, where do we get started? We have so many things to deal with. Think about these three buckets. Which one of these do you feel like you could use some extra help in? Or which one do you feel like has been neglected? And I found that if you think about it that way, the light bulbs start to go off, where you start to say, oh yeah, we really need some help in this area. And the great news is that a talent academy can really address and help across any of these dimensions. Okay, let me summarize with a few key points around how you can accelerate skill and talent development. The first is know when to buy programs when it makes sense. You don't have to build everything yourself. It takes so much time. But if we're talking about sponsoring employees to take external programs, then tap into tuition assistance or into different departments' training budgets. That's one of the best places for this budget to come from. The third is to provide time for upskilling. We saw what that does to participation and engagement rates. 4, get better tools for creating and delivering internal programs. It doesn't have to be that hard. And as soon as that barrier comes down in terms of the time and energy and resources that it takes, you're going to be able to meet more employee needs throughout that employee journey. Number 5, encourage your employees to learn in cohorts. So set it up where you're learning with a group of people. Not only does this create great accountability, but it also enhances the learning experience and it helps share the burden of learning. So much of learning is in the interaction, the back and forth, the collaboration and discussion and feedback. And cohorts can help provide all of that for you. Number 6, get the rest of the business involved. The rest of the business needs to help inform. These are the skills, this is the talent that we need, this is the area that we need help in, and this is the business case for why we need these skills, why we need this talent. Because if the rest of the business can help with that, then using something like a talent academy, it's really easy to say, great, we have the need, we have the business case, let's address this with education access, with the program builder, it all comes together. Number 7, address challenges with the appropriate solution. So going back to this last slide, do you have a learning challenge? Do you have a training challenge or a development challenge? Be clear about what are we trying to solve? What are the measures of success? Do we just want employees to feel like we have a great learning culture, like they're being invested in? Are we trying to prepare people for new roles? Or are we trying to get people to do their current jobs better? If you're clear about the challenge that you're trying to address, it's a lot easier to craft an appropriate solution and it feels way less overwhelming to get started. So those are my 7 keys to how to accelerate your skill and talent development. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you found something useful in all of this. I hope it sparked a couple ideas around how you could accelerate skill and talent development. If you want to see more of the Learn-In solution around talent academies, please reach out to us. Email, website, you can hit us up in the chat. We'd love to talk to you more about this. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.